Oh, goodness. Is it that time already? Let me pull my socks up and get ready for another episode of the Valley of Spirits. Are you ready, Nick?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I think going through that portal to the Valley of Blossoms did something. More than just gave me gas. I think I may have caught something this week.
Well, I do appreciate you still coming all the way to Pandaria with me. Another place I haven't had a chance to see yet. At any time until now to visit these lands, But after working alongside Pandaren throughout the Black Dragon Flight and Farag, and I told them that I like taverns. Me and my buddy go to a lot of taverns, and they said I had to see the taverns of Pandaria. So definitely maybe a couple of stops in line. We'll see.
Definitely. I haven't been around here in a long time. It would be really great to revisit some places. We do have some great things coming up in this episode. We're going to be covering hotfixes, a majority of which are Season of Discovery, class changes, our upcoming events, and affixes. We're going to wrap it all up with esports and Tavern Talk. So let's get started. Jordan, tell us about your week.
I had a bit of a lax week. I ended up actually buying fishing things and doing a bit of outsiding this week. Ew, I know.
You touched grass?
I touched water, lake water. But I did end up getting to some raiding. I did get the 6 of 8 done with the guild, which will come up a little bit in the guild section. And then I did do a full run on my Evoker, just to taste of healing and counsel and just to stay fresh. I did end up doing some keys with a neighboring guild. Nick, you came along for a couple of these as well.
Yeah.
Some of them went pretty chill. Some of them a little less chill. But I do appreciate you guys playing us if you were listening. And definitely more keys to come, especially come up with the War with Ed. I'm excited for more. I did do quite a bit of PvP this week, but, a good amount of it was definitely while I was under the influences of some spirits of the valley, if you know what I'm trying to say. I did get half of my Mage's Gladiator gear during it, and I did get... I can't resist solo shuffle on my Evoker. I keep dabbing in a lot of battlegrounds, and I did some skirmies on the Evoker, completing the PvP set for Season 4. So my Evoker is now best in slot for Season 4 PvP.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty cool. It hurts. It heals. It's pretty sweet. The only thing I really, really did in anything like Remix, Cataclassic, or Hardcore, or Season of Discovery was read a lot of things and watch a lot of people doing things on Season of Discovery on YouTube. And then I also played a little bit of my Warlock a little bit. It still feels kind of weird and nasty. When you're playing it in Panda and low levels, it's a really gross representation of what that character is going to be. So as you just cast the abilities, you can get off and you do a gajillion damage. But a couple of dungeons on my Warlock. But other than that, nothing. Not a whole lot for any of the remakes or anything. We do have a lot of Season of Discovery talk coming up.
Oh, God, so much.
And we'll see, we'll touch on a couple of those topics that I think are interesting. But that's all I did. Nick? What did you get up to this week?
Well, my raiding pretty much was just down to doing the guild normal raid. So, same stuff we both did, which was great. It was fun. Had a killer time doing it. For dungeons, did end up running through some time walking. Tried to get some extra gear for the Holy and Prop Alley. Sadly, Blizzard continues to give me the green weenie equivalent and not give me any gear that I really need and give me gear that I maybe could need. So, getting an item level that, only has 5 more item level than versus the pieces that I've been trying to replace that could give me 30 or 40 eye level bumps. It's great. I love the game still. Don't get me wrong. I didn't do any PvP or Panda or Cataclassic, but I did do some classic hardcore this week. Decided to restart the hardcore track, although this time I'm going to go as a priest. So I did spend a few hours doing that in about level 8. Haven't really done much since then. The hard part is the fact that I'm going to have to get all the way up to 22, I think was my highest last. Which, that's, at least on the Paladin, it felt like it took forever, but I think that's because they're extremely low levelers. And I think the priest is supposed to be a bit quicker. Plus there's bubble, so I'm hoping the bubble will survive, or keep me alive.
Yeah, we'll see. Interesting.
Yep.
I don't know what I would play in hardcore if I had to pick. Warrior, me, but Warrior is the safest bet, I would say. Even though they kind of can't heal themselves, they could just kind of get themselves out of some shit.
Well, that's why we play it together. I go paladin or priest, and you go
Well,
anything
the
else.
mage. Well, I do like doing the mage, but I'm like, hey, I'm thirsty. Hold up, chill. Got a drink.
Yeah, happens. Got to get that mana
I'm
tap.
thirsty. Holy shit. So we got 6 of 8 have done normal. We were a bit busy this week, so we will definitely be back to 2 raid nights next week for sure. Nick, do you want to do hot fixes, or do you want me to read some more this time?
Let's. Could you read some more? I don't think people want to hear my sickly voice.
I'll give it a shot. So normally we always have Nick. He can read. I'm a warrior. Like, I struggle. I like cave drawings and like hieroglyphs. That's more my language, you know?
Hieroglyphs.
Yeah, that.
The pretty cave paintings.
The pretty cave paintings. So now I have to be legible and read things. So
It's okay.
I'll
We've
take
been
a
really
little bit of
working
load
on
off,
it.
Nick.
And,
Like I said,
well,
thank you for coming out this week. All the way to
we've been really
Pandaria
working
with
on your
me.
reading. No, Jordan, we've been really working on your reading. You finally got through Green Eggs and Ham, and I'm really proud of you.
Did I read it every word, every word.
So let's see if you can do some of these hot fixes for me.
We have WoW Classic Era and Hardcore, where they fixed an issue preventing certain dungeon upgrade quests from being able to be accepted from Diliana and Ironforge and Makvar and Orgrimmar. So for Season of Discovery, activities involving Reginald Windsor and the Stormwind Keep should now complete more reliably when High Lord Bolvar Fordragon, Lady Katana Prester, Reginald and and Reginald Windsor are all alive. Hellscream's Phantom should now respawn after an unsuccessful attempt. Fix some ring engravings so that all benefited class can learn them. Like Arcane Specialization can now be learned by Druid and Hunter, for example. Defense is now learnable by Rogue, Warlock, Warrior, Paladin, and Shaman, was only Druid. And Frost is now learnable by Hunter, which was originally only Mage. This is a really interesting change because they are allowing some like Frost talents or Frost abilities from Frost Mage on Hunter, for example. So there's a lot to go into in that. There's lots of Fever Dream we're going to go into, but that's definitely much more of a Tavern Talk. But they are expanding some abilities to other classes. Very exciting. Just for context, the engravings in these rings are the runes that give you the ability, right? That's how they added the one for level 60 and higher. You get an enchant and you get an engraving, which gives you like essentially a gem slot for a rune. Anyway, the correct version of Necromantic Band now drops from the Death Knight, Dark Reaver, and Shalamance. Good thing. Things are dropping like they should. Thank you, Blizzard. In Ashenvale, quests Clear the Forest and Repelling Invaders have been scaled to level 60. Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
A little bit more relevant for modern Season of Discovery. Fixed the health and damage of creatures inside Alterac Valley Battleground, so they will align with Outdoor World and Dungeon creatures. Fixed a bug in UBRS, preventing Jed Runewatcher from spawning. Thank you. Increased the experience awarded by enemies in the Demonfall Canyon to brave adventurers who See, I told you, I'm a fucking caveman. These aren't my cave drawings anymore, Nick.
It's all right.
Damn
Got
it. Increased the experience awarded by enemies in the Demonfall Canyon to brave adventurers who enter before reaching level 60. Some interesting incentive. So they're glossing some sprinkles of difficulty in there if you want to be a sweat lord early. The teleporter in Nomerhagen will no longer send you to Ashara. Oops. Yeah, I don't know how bad that was. Like I said, we haven't played much Season of Discovery, but that would be kind of goofy and kind of not cool accidentally, actually. Some other notes about the Demonfall Canyon. Possibly due to demonic deceptions, the Owl Beasts of Winterspring have attended a gilded meditation retreat, expanding their pineal glands. Zilgabab will now always be accessible when the Destructor's Wraith and Grimroot have been defeated. So some more changes about Blackrock Eruption in Season of Discovery. The spawn rates of creatures in Blackrock Eruptions have been increased. The Flamestone Cluster Quest item required for the quest Oh Shiny has been awarded to the other Dark Iron creatures in Searing Gorge as well. This is not reflected in quest text. The number of quest creatures required for some Blackrock Eruption quests have been reduced. Just a bunch of Blackrock quality of life for sure. So some item changes are happening in Season of Discovery. We have a new item, Hand of Injustice, now available from Picturesque, the Undermine Real vendor. Added a new shield enchant that grants 30 spell power and 55% healing power. Law of Nature, available to learn for enchanters. The pattern is available from Timbermaw Hold at Revered. That's interesting. So they're adding some interesting healers that have shield enchants, or maybe a leech, kind of.
Yeah, it's
kind of interesting.
It is interesting. I don't know. I don't get it, but it sounds cool.
Sounds interesting. Added a temporary shield enchantment that grants 24 spell power, much like the Wizard Oil. Conductive Shield Coating, available to learn for enchanters. The pattern is available from Thorium Brotherhood at Honored. Drinkable Strathholm Holy Water from Argent Dawn Reputation will now recover 6618 mana over 30 seconds and will grant 10 per holy water when turned in. The pattern Embroidered Belt of the Archmage can now correctly be consumed by tailors. The leather-reinforced runecloth bag's materials have been changed from requiring a runecloth bag to requiring the materials for a runecloth bag itself. So that's sweet. Some redundancy removed. So we do have some quest changes in Season of Discovery. The quests More Greater Moonstones and More Moondragon Scales now have the correct item requirements to complete. I imagine it was saying something different than you actually had to have, and the quest wasn't turning in, so they finally fixed it. Players who were unable to fully access Mokvar and Diluna's tier, so 0.5 tier exchange vendor options, should now have full access if they have completed the corresponding quests. So listen closely if you're trying to get tier 0.5. An Earnest Proposition gives you bracers. Just Compensation gives you belt and gloves. Antheon's Parting Words gives you boots, legs, and shoulders. Saving the Best for Last gives you the helm and chest. And a Neilby, Kokron Elite, and Ironforge Guard will also provide access to these vendor lists if Mokar and Diliana are occupied. So, Nick, obviously you see I'm tapped out. I've read enough. That's all the words I understand. I was wondering if you could help me out. You got a little bit of class changes for me? Can you help me a little bit?
Yep. All right. So for Season of Discovery, class changes. Druid, Nourish, will now benefit from and consume Omen of Clarity's clear casting effect. Developers note, unlike in Cataclysm, Nourish in Season of Discovery has more upsides to it than just mana cost, like the casting speed. So it does make sense for it to benefit from clear casting and to consume it as well. You also are getting improved bark skin, no longer erroneously requires tree form.
Huzzah.
Yeah. Improved Swipe combined with Blood Frenzy will no longer cause druids to lose their combo points on their current target when Swipe Cat crits against a target other than the primary target.
No, I like these two last changes to druids.
Yes.
Because part of it's like improved swipe, not dropping their stacks. Okay, that's cool. Pretty impressed with that. But now you finally get bark skin out of tree form, but like that was like the classic thing. Right. You had to be in tree form to bark skin back then. And so where is the line here? Because I like this Blood Frenzy thing, and I could see people having problem with this tree form thing.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So like this is interesting. The line is somewhere in between this, I believe.
For Hunter, if you have Lone Wolf engraved on your gear, Spirit Healers and Battlegrounds will no longer resurrect your pet alongside you. Hunters can now engrave both Rune of Nature specialization and the Rune of Fire specialization. Wyvern Strike will no longer return an immune message against targets that are immune to bleed effects. It will now deal its direct damage but not apply the bleed.
Huh.
Right.
Oh, bleed is better. Interesting.
Well, this is an interesting change.
Here, Nick, let me take it. Let me take the mage one.
Yeah,
I got this. I got the rest of it.
You sure?
Yeah, I do. I like mage. This is interesting.
Okay, go for it.
We'll talk about, I'm just going to read all these, and I'll talk about what I think their ultimate plan is with this at the end. So, Presence of Mind is not consumed if Chronostatic Preservation's buff was already present and a release of heal is used. This means you can use Chronostatic Preservation precast, you can use POM, and release 2 Chronostatic Preservation casts back to back. Ice Armor and Frost Armor will no longer proc Brain Freeze, so that actually kind of sucks if you are getting hit and a Season of Discovery, you no longer will get the crit procs to hit them for free. Brain Freeze and Hot Streak will no longer override each other and can now both exist on a character at the same time. Your Arcane Missiles will correctly have their costs reduced when both Missile Barrage and Brain Freeze are active at the same time. If Hot Streak is gained while already casting Pyroblast, it will no longer be consumed. This will result in 2 free Pyroblasts back-to-back. Frozen Orb will no longer despawn early if cast near a wall. Arcane Barrage will now correctly interact with the Shatter talent when your talent is frozen or you have Fingers of Frost active. Frozen Orb will now benefit from the Shatter talent if the target is frozen. Developer's notes. Because Fingers of Frost is applied through Frozen Orb, it would be consumed quickly by it. Frozen Orb does not consume or benefit from Fingers of Frost. So it's just kind of all over the place. This is mostly Frost Mage is getting touched here, a little bit of Fire, but mostly Frost Mage. Well, Mage across the board gets a healing buff using Chronostatic Preservation. That's cool. It's going to be better. You can double cast it if you do it right. You'll be a lot more sustainable in Season of Discovery. I almost wish they would do something like that in retail. Knock on wood, right? Way more sustainable. You don't just hit a shield every 20 seconds and cross your fingers.
Right.
I do think it's interesting, like that Ice Armor and Frost Armor no longer proccing Brain Freeze is kind of a nerf to questing, which is kind of interesting. That's the only time that's like super relevant unless the tank's bad. And normally if the tank doesn't have something pulled and it's hitting the mage in melee, then you're done. Like you already done so. You know, you got 2 melee hits and you're murdered.
Bye-bye.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't played mage much. I'm not a fan of the casting stuff, so you're more of an expert on that.
Yeah, patience. Teaches you patience.
And when to give up. Doing trigonometry when I play a game.
But Nick, I'll let you back to it. Maybe we'll touch a little bit more on Mage in the Tavern Talk, maybe. But I know there's a class that you can talk the best for. So tell me a little bit about Paladin changes.
All right, Paladin. Inspiration Exemplar will no longer cause the player to stand up every tick. Fixed an issue with Hallowed Ground that caused multiple Paladins using it to generate too many healing events. Be interesting. Hallowed Ground will now calculate its healing correctly when wearing items with bonus healing effects. Also interesting that was not happening proper. I'm really curious, like when I see these types of fixes where things are not calculating properly, I'm curious on the coding and how it's structured to do it, and like how they fixed it. Like I want to know the math.
Like it's so vague, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I also want to know what that syntax error is. I guess, or the logic error, whichever it is. It's just me being the nerd I am.
That's probably them being like, it's this, so we fixed it. Yep. You know, that's probably what it is.
Lastly, calculations for Shield of Light now properly include attack power multiplier from Vindication. That's nice. Again, same math stuff. I want to know how it's done. I'm just curious. Like I want to break it down and know how it's coding.
So apply to Blizzard. They'll just lay you off in a couple of years. It's not like it's a commitment.
I don't want to move to California.
True.
For Priest, Binding Heal will now correctly consume a Surge of Light. Void Zone will no longer return a no path available error and will no longer pull enemies through the floor. That will probably help.
I don't like going through the floor, for sure. Not my favorite.
What was it? Tilde key no clip back in the day for like all the old classic games?
All right. No. Stay on topic. We gotta get through these.
Shaman, Storm, Earth, and Fire's Earthbound Totem effect will now correctly hit every target instead of just one. Shamans will no longer gain charges of Lightning Shield from Rolling Thunder when the rune is not equipped. Greater Ghost Wolf rune now works with Rolling Thunder rune discovery. Lava Lash will now correctly gain bonus damage from extended duration of Flame Tongue weapon rank 6.
I do really wish I had more to comment on Shaman, but I just started really playing one like this expansion. So
I have not played one ever.
And so part of this is interesting, but part of this is going way over my head too. So sorry, I don't have much commentary on that for sure.
I haven't played Shaman mainly because I feel like the totem management is just not my style. I don't want to.
It's not as important as it used to be. The thing is totems end up being like Ring of Peace for for monk, because you essentially have like a cleanse circle, or well, you also have the yank, to keep people in the shock circle. That shit's crazy. But shaman's interesting. We'll talk about this more in the Tavern Talk, but they are completely reworking shaman for the war within. Every spec.
They're doing so much stuff.
And so far, people like it. So definitely be excited if you're a shaman who doesn't have beta. Maybe give it a taste if you're a shaman who does. And we'll see what shamans can do next expansion for sure.
Yeah.
They're simming pretty good.
We got 2 more to do. I told you guys, there's a lot of season discovery. Warlock, Mark of Chaos will no longer fall off after 1 minute when Curse of Recklessness or Curse of Weakness is used. Rune of Infernal Armor now drops for players even if they haven't previously completed discovery for Rune of Shadow Flames. The number of charges on Shadow Flames application of Shadow Vulnerability has been increased to 30 total charges. Prior it was 10. Explorer Imps should now have an easier time traveling to Legion Prison World, Niskara. I always find it funny on stuff like this too, where it's like, they'll now have an easier time. What was difficult prior? What was going on? I want to know what was happening. I'm just curious on like the little things that are broken that they're like, oh.
No, some of it's not accountable. What are you going to do? Level a whole another warlock just to go do that exact situation again? No, you're not going to play test that.
No. I don't mean to play test it. I just want to know like how the change happened, or
when they say that what I'm saying. That's why they're so vague.
Time. Oh yeah, but I mean, even when they say like it has an easier time, is it like they just cleaned up the code so it loads faster? Like, is this just a
who knows? Yeah, it could be as minor as that.
Thing? Well, yeah, it could be, and then just be like, hey, this works easier now. Anyway, for our last one, Jordan's favorite class, maybe, I think. I don't know. It's kind of falling off.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't been doing it too much. That's all right. You can read this one.
For Warrior.
Soon to be your favorite class.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I know about it.
Why do you think that?
It's better Paladin. Okay, anyway, so you were going to read some Warrior?
Yeah. For Warrior, Konsu's Fall catcher mechanism for Thunder-stomped players should now be slightly better as rescuing them. Sebastian Jurgen will now despawn for only 30 seconds after a player turns in Booking It Back. The quest items carried for Booking It Back will now be pushed to players after they re-accept the quest. Guided Buoyancy Accelerant will now be offered to players on Lost and Found who have completed Poacher's Den. Infinite Midnight should now always be completable at Konsu. Jordan, do you mind taking us through the events that are coming up this week and our affixes?
Yeah, we have a couple of things to go over this week. You guys may or may not have heard about it, but we do have, at the time of posting this, we will be in pre-patch of the War Within. We have interestedly decided to only cover certain things because they've been so wishy-washy about what they're going to do. So I do want you guys to stay tuned for our War Within coverage coming next week after we go through this pre-patch and feel it out and see what they changed and see things like that. But based on my understanding, we will be in the pre-patch coming up this Tuesday. We'll definitely talk a lot more in the coming week once some of the stuff goes live and we have a little bit more of a real understanding of how it's going to apply to our accounts. Once I see what happens to my reps, once I log in, and keep in mind, logging into your character, they said on average, once you get through the login queue, will take you 20 minutes for your account to warband because it'll slurp all your characters on every servers. What that means is if you have 60 characters on 17 servers that are all level 70 and have shit, then I would expect an hour wait once you try to get in. Like, I would let it run and chill. So keep in mind there will be waits. Listen to your favorite podcast, The Valley of Spirits, while you're waiting. But
good
plug. But there will be some waits. I would expect it. And we do know about some guaranteed features that are coming. Themes, the War Within, the war bands. You'll be able to start to mix things together in the loading screen. You're going to be able to do all kinds of cool stuff.
So excited for 3 out of 4 of my war band to be paladins.
And so they have put some stuff on the PTR, but there have been times in the past where things on the PTR don't actually end up being in the full patch of live. So that's why we wanted to stay a little quiet about the War Within and beta and things like that, because they've been taking a lot back. They've been pretty wishy-washy on a lot of it.
And I mean, and they've been doing it because we've been talking back, and we've done what they've asked, giving them feedback on stuff, and it's been good. I think what they're providing going forward is going to be good.
Yeah, so we get our experience to do, we get a chance to do those new quests to bridge us to the War Within. And we get to fight the mini bosses. Like, we get to essentially fight like Jelly Ragnaros and, Jelly versions of the bosses, like a Jelly Death Knight. It's kind of cool. Or Death Knight. Jelly Lich King. You get to fight all kinds of people like that. Really cool fights. Yeah. We'll see what they do with it, how true they were to the raid. If they're not, we're going to do it. We're going to find out. And that's why next week, we will have a whole week of pre-patch to talk about. So yeah, just a little bit of touching. We do have a little bit more War Within things coming up later in the Tavern Talk. But just to let you know, we will do a whole section of the episode will be about the pre-patch coming up next week. Right, Nick?
Yes.
No, just cutting it out. Just making sure you weren't abstaining.
No,
you're
good.
Going to be like, no, that's fucking stupid. I was like, all right, cut it, Jordan. Next.
Let's do. Did we do events and affixes?
Nope. That was just the coming week. We just said, the most important thing this week is honestly pre-patch. But moving on to our events for our week during pre-patch. I think it'll be interesting. They always choose things that are either fan favorites or a little bit more when they are doing a severe transition in the game. Because they know they're not going to have a lot of people doing PvP brawls when all the new pre-patch content just came out. I guarantee you I'm not. No offense or anything. The brawl coming up is pretty exciting, but I can't see myself. I'm exploring the pre-patch, baby.
Yeah,
but
same.
The PvP brawl this week is Packed House begins. The PvP brawl this week is Packed House. It's essentially an arena where you know how you normally have like 3v3s, right? Now you have 15 on each side and an arena map. It is goofy. It is crazy. It's a fan favorite. It's literally like Octagon and Halo for the old heads out there. It is everybody shooting at everybody in a small little box. And people die for no reason and people win for no reason. And you just keep on vibing. I wish more people played it. It's a really casual group. If you're trying to learn a class, you get a couple of burst rotations off and die. That's fine. Whatever, It's a brawl. There will be a Battleground bonus event. They always do clever things like this to push PvP for the PvPers during PvE time. So you will be getting a bonus for doing Battlegrounds, extra honor, extra conquest earned when victories, etc. And of course, we have the WoW Panda remix going on. We're getting pretty up close to a month left on it, though. If there's anybody out there trying to get some Panda stuff done, get some mounts, get some Tusks of Manoroth, get some cool Mogs or whatever you didn't want or you did want from Pandaria.
I went through all the transmogs I could get, and I think I only got what I wanted, and it wasn't really much. I didn't like a lot of the styling.
Yeah, some of it.
I mean,
they either went like hard one way or the other.
Yeah. But I did pick up some cool mounts, so I'm pretty happy on that.
So keep in mind, though, if there was something you wanted to get it done in Miss Pandaria Remix, wanted to get some achievements, wanted to get some exploration, anything you were trying to get done, Lore Master of Pandaria, things like that, then your time is running out on your Panda character. Now, that's another thing we'll bring up, not this episode, we have enough in the Tavern Talk already, but we'll bring up another episode is how do we feel about Lore Master being a part of Warbands? Should you be able to do one part on each different character? And then get the Lore Master title?
Good question.
So yeah, food for thought. For affixes this week, we have Fortified, Afflicted, and Raging. So starting at level 2, Fortified will start. Non-boss enemies have 30% increased health and deal 20% more damage. That means this is going to be a trash week. Remember how we were lusting on bosses last week? You're probably going to have a really hard, really crazy pull right in the beginning where everybody does a ton of damage, Paladin wink, and it's going to hurt. It's going to be tough. Maybe your mage or your melee DPS dies occasionally. It happens in these kind of pulls.
Yeah.
But you lust for this pull, you tenderize them, save a lot of time real quick. So get ready for things like that. If you were planning to plow through trash real quick, just like you did this last week, it ain't going to work like that. Mind you, we are going into pre-patch. So we may be super duper fucking broken and everything's going to be easy. I don't know yet. We know the season is not ending. The deadline for getting things like KSM has not ended yet.
Right.
It's interesting.
I'm happy about that because last week sucked for me getting any key anywhere.
It was, I think it was a rough week for a lot of WoW players,
Yeah.
based on my experiences. But then we have, starting at level 5, Afflicted. While in combat, afflicted souls periodically appear and seek the aid of players. This is the ones that need to be cure diseased, so like cleansed. So healers obviously will have their cleanse, and then we will need a paladin, wink. Yeah, warrior, sorry, you're cucked. Or death knights too are cucked. If you do have a target cleanse, definitely enjoy blasting those afflicted real quick. Healers do have the option to heal them, and so in a lower key, I'd say this is practical and a decent move. I find myself, I'm well geared, right? I find myself in like a 2 to 5, having no problem just blasting a living flame, and if it crits, boom. If I have to do 2 living flames, boom. Right? Like that's enough time. If the group's healthy, that's enough time for me to get it off. When you get into higher keys, like 9s and 10s, it is getting abstractly unrealistic to be able to heal that thing anymore. Like, we have to cleanse it. Just some things to keep in mind about Afflicted. Not too bad early on, pretty rough later. And I talk about 2 to 5 keys because last season you would get them all the way back on like 6s. But on the low end, they're not too bad. So at 5, I would say 5, 6, they're not too bad. It'll be chill. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Get used to your cleanses. The healer can heal them. Once you start getting up to 10s, it's going to be something that will have to be planned for. And once you get to 10s or higher, you have Raging. Non-boss enemies enrage at 30% health remaining, temporarily granting immunity to crowd control effects. So they nerfed this from a while ago. I've talked about this in our past podcasts. They no longer deal increased damage. You just can no longer CC or interrupt them. So there are abilities like Soothe on Druid and things like that that you can use to unenrage specific mobs. If you really don't want the big guy to enrage, you can a Druid soothes them. That's crazy. Absolutely awesome. Then you can just continue to interrupt the guy you need to interrupt. But other than that, they will not give a hell after that for 30 seconds. If you need to interrupt or CC them, they don't care. I don't care about your Storm Shout or your Leg Sweep or your Tail Whip or whatever the hell you're using. Some things to keep in mind. It is important to kind of burst at the right time. You'll watch when really high level people do Raging. They will kind of work everything around and hit packs until they're all kind of at 30 and then boil them all into one and then blow all their bursts and kill all of them while they're at 30% health. Because now they need all of them to die now. Because they can't CC them or nothing anymore. They're just like, poof. Let the A10, come up and murk them real quick.
Get that burnt.
So, Nick, any PvP or PvE updates this week that weren't like Season of Discovery?
No, we have no PvP and no PvE updates. But I know, Jordan, that you do have some esports you've been dying to talk about.
Yes, we did watch the end of the Great Push.
Yeah, it was good.
It was intense. Echo ended up coming out on top, which is absolutely insane. I mean, I'm a long-term fanboy of Echo. I mean, I'm not the only one. I know that's basic, but I'm pretty excited. They tied Mandatory in the World Cup final for 129 points, but Echo got 129 points 2 minutes and 12 seconds faster. Pretty exciting. I honestly thought Miscount had it. Miscount was fucking scary on day one.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, Miscount be taking Echo out back because they launched world records. Well, right. Echo launched world records on other days as well, but, well, they all did. Mandatory actually murdered a couple of world records earlier in the week.
They took those out back.
Yeah, so everybody was fighting, but it was really good to... I always like these more than some of the MDIs because it's less of a speed run, more of actual. Some of it's corny, right? You watch like the Evoker fly or skin dash around the corner and go scoop up all the ads and then CC them so they take forever to line of sight again and they never do anything for forever. And then he like takes a look at the group. He's like, how the group feeling? He like buffs the group. He's like, oh, we need a little longer. And then he goes back out and pulls another mob, right? And then he flies his ass back in, comes in, rescues himself off another guy, and then does all the crap. It's like, man. So some of it's crazy. But there's a reason why they're doing all that. And I actually really enjoyed the casters this time around because they did a good job of explaining why they're doing the things. Dratnos specifically, which he has a name, guild. I don't know necessarily. I'm not going to say anything. I don't know any facts about the Dratnos guild team, anything for sure. But I do think they are kind of affiliated. It sounds like he knows a player or two on that team. So it was also very exciting to see them get only 3 points off of the top people in the world this time around. It was a really, really close competition. Like the last 6 people that were up, which I guess I'll call it. And first, from the Great Push came Echo. And second was Mandatory. Third was Missed Count. Fourth was Pedro's Per Hour. Fifth was Dratnos Guild Team. And sixth was Madge. And so their point totals respectively, which were insanely close, 129, 129, 127, 126, 126, 125.
So, gosh, ridiculous. I love how it's split on 2 of them between the time they took.
Yeah, 2 separate groups, so 4 of them. As there was Echo and Mandatory tied at 129, but Echo did it 2 minutes and 12 seconds faster, and Pedro's Per Hour and Dratnos Guild Team both got 126, but Pedro's Per Hour did it 20 seconds faster, which is close as hell. Very exciting to watch, down to the wire for a lot of stuff. When it was down to Echo and Mandatory, I was like, oh, there's a little bit after they finished, both Echo and Mandatory finished, and then you're waiting because I can't start another dungeon. There's not enough time, right?
Right.
And so they all just kind of chill out and laugh. It's kind of awkward then, but the build-up is really intense. I do always like the MDIs and the PvE pushes for sure. So Blizzard, if you're listening, keep doing. Listeners, keep watching them. Lots of excitement. But I think that's it. I don't think we have any other topics we wanted to cover. I think we are up to
our Tavern Talk.
Tavern Talk.
Uh-oh.
Yo, hey. So I haven't even had to say her name yet. But we have Mifan bringing our drinks tonight. Thank you. She's been awesome. Very, very quiet. Very quiet here in the Shrine of Two Moons. I kind of like this place. It's interesting not more people hang out here.
Well, I think it's, the expansion is showing its age.
Yeah, well, they have very good fixtures. They're a little dusty. They could be. Hey, don't look at me like that, Vilu. She's scoffing. She's like, dusty. She looking at us weird. I do like the service. We haven't had to say a word. They just fill the drinks up. It's pretty sweet. A little more, I guess, what's the word I would use? Serene, maybe?
Yes.
More relaxing.
Oh, it's very relaxing.
Yeah, for a city, too. Like, this ain't like the Undercity was a little bit of a different vibe,
I mean, that was, little dark, dreary.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's something, all I've known is dark and dreary. So, that's fine.
Well, yours is dark and damp with your cave.
Well, yeah, I was turned into stone in a cave for a little bit. Oh, Neltharion. Anyway, we're talking... Maybe we don't need any more drinks. No, I was just joking, girl. Bring him. No, I'm just playing. It was a joke. We're doing a podcast. It was just a joke. So, Nick, I wanted to take a drink to Uther because you've actually talked a lot about him. And do you know why, Nick? Actually, why don't you tell us why you've been talking a lot about him?
Well, we have our script written for our next lore episode, which will be Uther the Lightbringer.
Yeah, we have a little bit more of a deep dive on an interesting part of Paladin lore, for sure.
Yep, it's going to be good. I think it'll be and we're going to take a different approach with that episode as well, so it's going to be great.
Absolutely. Very exciting. So we talked a little bit about what I was going to play in the War Within. Obviously, Nick was going to be touching at least Paladin, Hunter. For sure.
Totally going to play a Hunter. Come on.
He's going to play something No, I do expect you to play something alongside a paladin, maybe. So try something else sometime.
Alongside my rep paladin, I'll be playing my prop paladin, and alongside that will be my holy paladin.
Well, so some paladin to be done for you.
But there is a 4 slot in the warband, so I need to find something else too to fix that 4th slot or to fill it.
Warrior. Anyway,
I don't know.
I won't bias you. I want it to be something you like. I don't want you to hate it.
I do have the rogue that I brought up to 70.
Oh, the roguey poo.
Yeah.
That's kind of gross Panda, though. So. It's kind of slimy.
I don't know. I may bring back a Death Knight too. I haven't played one in a long time.
Yeah, they're good though. Most of the time, one way or another, they're good.
But I don't know. I gotta sit down and really thinking about what I want to play and add to the collection of paladins.
But I said I was gonna play definitely mage. I'm gonna pump mage really super hard this next expansion, and then Evoker is gonna be my backup girl. Even though it's gonna be kind of tough, it still looks like they're gonna be the worst healer in the coming out here. But with the hero talent tree, I've figured some ways out in the beta, so I think I'll be able to slither my way into some dungeons here and there. But specifically on this page, they talked about a survey that people took. And so these were specifically people that had access to the early access launch and also are playing the beta. So this is only whales, okay? This is only what whales that had time to participate in the survey. So in this spec, in this survey, there was not over 900 responses, they say, but there's a grand total of 913 responses, which comes out to roughly 120 people saying they're going to play Hunter, 100 people saying they're going to play Paladin, like 98 people saying they're going to play Druid, 95 people saying they're going to play Mage, 60 people saying they're going to play Shaman, 50 people saying they're going to play Warrior, something like 40% people saying they're going to play Priest, and then 25 or lower for, as you know, in order of respective, Rogue, Warlock, Monk, Evoker, Death Knight, Demon Hunter. So I already know this is a terrible statistic, because Demon Hunter, obviously none of the Demon Hunter, if you ever know a Demon Hunter player, they ain't playing the beta. They're going and crunching keys in retail right now.
Jeez.
All the hunters are mad that they're not as good in retail, so they're all playing the beta. I guess, 121 of them it looks like total. So an interesting statistic. They are rebuilding a lot of stuff in Warband, so definitely keep that in mind. I just wanted to talk about that. I thought that was kind of funny.
I thought it was hilarious, too. I looked at that graph and I was like, what? There's like... Excuse me. How many people were looking at Demon Hunter? 7 comments for Demon Hunter.
It's like, okay,
7.
That's not right.
No, I mean, there's obviously going to be a ton more. You know, there's
right,
only,
because I was one of these people that never saw this thing. I played in the beta. Right. I've played all classes, and I didn't vote in this, right?
Right. All right, Jordan, I think you're going to really like this next discussion point. All the tank nerfs that are going on.
Oh, and the war within.
Yep. You reduce sustainability.
Juicy. This one's
everybody's
juicy.
Been hating on this.
Yeah, it's... Oh, man, I wasn't ready to talk about this.
I want your opinion first, because I know where I stand with it. I've already read through a couple articles and have some notes.
Yep, and I really haven't. I'm kind of just an old head. I guess, truth be told, before I say my opinion, I'm not that worried about it. We'll get used to it. Players will adjust. It'll become new World of Warcraft. It's not bad enough to...
People are just getting grumpy because it's a change.
Yes. I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making it out to be. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, they've already got their pitchforks out, so I guess I might as well send it at this point.
Okay, what was the hotfix they did the one time? They're like, don't worry, we've already added the pitchforks.
Yeah. Let me talk for it first. Let me start for it. I do like that it will be harder for a tank to just literally survive by himself for no reason because he's a demon hunter or a well-geared blood DK or, somebody who has 2.5 million health and this, comes along for a +5 key. for us or whatever, for, us and our guildies or whoever we're playing
Yeah.
with, whoever he's coming with us, he just tanks it by himself and then kills the guy. It's like, how conducive is that to the group? Because you think about it in a way now, if you have a good tank, you have a decent chance of just getting the fuck through the dungeon.
Well, so is it decent tank as in geared, skill level, or the fact that the stuff they're changing exists on that class?
It's like a scale of both, or all three, essentially. Like, if you are really good at gear, but you suck at your class, it's like, it doesn't matter as much because you just heal when you need to and you have a gajillion health.
Right.
Or there's the other way where you're really good at your class and you don't have any gear, but you always heal perfectly on time. You're always interrupting the guys to help the DPS. You're an absolute monster. Then there's like skill outweighs your gear. So there is a problem when when you don't have either of those things. And there is a problem when you have gear, but you have absolutely no understanding of the fight at all. Like, you gotta
Okay.
not die and get rezzed a bunch of
Right.
times.
No,
Right?
yeah, I gotcha. I mean, you don't my opinion on these?
On the tanks being nerfed, how do you feel?
Yeah. So I think that this is aligning with everything Blizzard is wanting to do in the long run, and we're looking at one stick in a major house build that they're doing, where we've already had a discussion prior weeks of reduction of throughput of healing on healers, except for, I think it was Holy Paladin, Holy Priest, and Preservation Evoker were the only ones not hit with that throughput reduction, because they're wanting to get it to the understanding in a dungeon that the tank isn't just running through everything. They don't want people being able to drop the heals and run for DPS, basically, which is what we could do now.
It's the biggest
on some
thing.
stuff. Yeah.
They're trying to create a serious place for the healer.
Well, it's not just that. They want that party and unit cohesion that used to be, and wow, that isn't there anymore because of it. And what I like about this is that it's going to do stuff that, well, I'm hoping it'll do this. Time walking to me is a chore. It may make time walking no longer a chore and actually fun and challenging again. It may make early game content in dungeons fun and challenging again. All that discussion we had a couple weeks ago about dungeon etiquette may be being fixed because they're making it harder.
No, you bring up a really good point. Their scaling is going to be easier with this, if you think about it, because their tanks are just going to be invulnerable now. That's interesting.
Right. And the thing too is I don't think people read through some stuff where every character's getting a 60% stat stamp. Let me reset. I don't think people read through a lot of stuff, and I found that in the War Within, every class is getting a 60% stamina bonus, like buff. Yes. So you're not losing a lot of health. Yeah, you're losing some of your mitigation techniques and whatnot, but it's not stuff that's going to let you die instantly because, and they stated that too, they don't want you to take a damage spike and have the healer freak out and the tank. Sorry, go ahead.
I have my hand up.
I'm sorry.
I really, really, really like it from an Evoker perspective. I'm excited because we just have we have a bit, well, in my mind, an absolute fuck ton more health. There will be, kill mechanics are going to be less killy, if that makes sense. I'm not going to be healing people from 80 to full now with my spells. It's going to be if they eat something twice, then I'm going to be healing them from 80 to full. And I have a certain amount of time to react to this heal. I get to take more planning. So in a way, just adding the stamina does make healing a bit easier. Yes. And they know this. They've done this before.
Yep.
This gives me as a healer time to just adjust.
Well, and one thing, too, I was reading is...
Which, of course, they're going to scale intellect and shit up, too, for it.
Yeah, they probably will in due time. But one thing I did see was that they wanted it to be challenging and have that cohesion between the tank and healer, without it being demanding on the healer to only focus on the tank. So they're trying, it sounds like they're really trying for that early game dungeons, heroics, time walking to actually be a challenge, actually have to take time and work through it like it would be a mythic almost. I think it's going to be good in the long run. If they do it right, that's the key thing.
Yeah, Blizzard. They don't normally do it right the first time, but they normally nail it the second time. So,
Yes.
we'll see. Plunderstorm was fire. I love that. That was the first time they did something like that.
I mean, that was completely different from their normal, too.
Yeah. But back to the War Within tank nerf. I just think it's a good move. I'm a healer, and I'm a little scared, but I am really excited to not be expected to do 80, 90, 100k damage in a fight now. Like, now I have to heal the tank. You're going to watch maybe Resto Druid not be the best healer in fucking World of Warcraft. Heaven forbid. Right? Somebody doesn't play a Resto Druid. But, sorry, Roybin, if you listen, which I know she doesn't. But, but one of my favorite Druid players is Roybin, for sure. Shout out to Roybin on Twitch for Method.
Oh, that's why you're a method boy.
So I think that's all we wanted to touch on now for the tank changes in the War Within. We'll get a little bit, like the pre-patch is going to kind of screw all this up too, so we won't really know until the War Within comes out how this feels, but just some interesting things to talk about. It's really, we could talk about this for an entire episode, the balance of Warcraft and why we feel the ways we do, and whether healers should be more effective or tanks should be shit, or DPS should, if they stand in something, they should be kicked from the group automatically, like, all kinds of things like that. Like, I don't know. It's complicated. I would have been kicked from some groups automatically, if that makes sense. Yeah. So moving on, we do have the new Oblivion affix for the War Within.
It's speculated for what that is. A new placeholder for an affix was found inside the beta build for the War Within. There also has been a new spell found called Xylatath's Bargain Oblivion. There are 5 different crystals that happen through this, and one of them is interesting, which says Effect 1, apply aura, take control of pet.
Interesting.
Yeah, nothing else on these crystals that they found they're all the same lingo. There's nothing that states it. This is the only one where it sounds like maybe this affix randomly has something to do with taking control of a hunter's pet.
I think they're going to keep some stuff in their pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Because they let us know about the Xalatath affix, which this is, I guess, another one, technically. This is the Oblivion Xalatath affix. Because you get Xalath's Bargain, right? So... or Baragen, or whatever the fuck it's called. And, they're keeping this one kind of on tighter doors. I don't blame them, because they showed us the first affixes with the Arcane and the Priest buff. Gosh, it feels like years ago now, but it wasn't even that long ago. Where you would have, Arcane and Holy and Shadow Weeks, right? So this is exciting. I am impressed with Xalatath affixes so far. So to be honest with you,
this was just something that I found that people were kind of speculating at that I thought was pretty interesting.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more about it. We'll see how the pre-patch goes. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. Ooh. We'll have to keep this one in. We'll have to put this right in next week's Tavern Talk.
We'll keep tracking on this one.
Definitely. So there's a couple of things happening for the PvP boys out there. Sorry if you're a leaver, I guess, is where I'll start with this. But this article is titled, No Show Solo Shuffle Penalty Now is Account-Wide on the War Within beta. So what that means is, if you fail to appear to a rated match in a PvP environment, your certain amount of time ban, which goes from however much time you have. First time is a minute, second time is 5 minutes, third time is 15, etc. Gets worse from there. It is now across your entire account. So keep in mind, it is important to stay in the game. But we got to remember to be respectful. We have a buddy of ours that uses language loosely, who plays some PvP and has some problems with not being able to. So be careful.
He has trouble logging in.
He has trouble logging in nowadays. Yes. So So just make sure you are polite, but if you really aren't ready for a whole group of super trash bags that are going to make you 0-6 for nothing you can deal with, just don't do it. If you're going to leave it, don't do it. So that's kind of their statement, right? I wanted to talk about that a little bit. There's a couple of things we covered in there. Don't be a super douchebag in the chat. It doesn't help anybody, as you're going to get them in the next game. Like, especially, right, like, if you lost Elo from that game for whatever reason, right, and you lost Elo and that guy won a couple of rounds or whatever, then when he still sucks, you're going to be with him again. And you taught him nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, come on, dude. So, moving on, though, from some solo shuffle and PvPs. Well, maybe not yet. I did do some solo shuffle of my own on my Evoker. I didn't end up getting anywhere. I stayed at 684. I went up some, and then I went right back down some. So, you know, take that for what it is. I didn't have any 06s, but I also didn't have any 60s. It's pretty mixed. Some good fights, though. It was pretty exciting. Had some people understand that stairs are bad. It was kind of cool. So that's it. I'm done bitching about solo shuffle and things and the war within beta. Thank you guys for joining us. Nick, would you send us out, please, with your handsome voice?
Thanks, Jordan. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Valley of Spirits. We're your hosts, Jordan and Nick, your go-to Horde players. Join us in Valdrakken on the Mal'Ganis server, and look up our guild, the Electric Boogaloo, for some epic adventures. Stay connected with us on social media. Follow us on Facebook and X by searching the Valley of Spirits podcast. Don't miss out our latest episodes, behind-the-scenes content, and more. Until next time, may your quests be glorious and your loot be plentiful. And as always, for the Horde. Yeah, really.